Welcome to the Babylon 5 Alliance. My name is Erik Rupp and I am your host. On today's show, we are going to be taking an in-depth look at Midnight on the Firing Line, the very first episode, the very first regular episode of Babylon 5. With Midnight on the Firing Line, J. Michael Straczynski really took the show up to another level. It was a huge improvement over The Gathering, the pilot movie, which was pretty good, but definitely had some rough spots and some areas that they could improve on, and improve on those areas they did. I mean, first off, you notice just the little things like the uniforms are slightly improved, but they look, it's just slight changes but big improvements. So that's one thing. The sets are a little better. There's also been a bit of recasting. The Doctor has been replaced. We don't see the new Doctor yet, so Richard Biggs doesn't make his first appearance in this episode. However, we see the first appearance of Claudia Christian as Susan Ivanova. She comes in right away in the episode, and she replaces Tamlin Tomita, who played Laurel Takashima, the second in command of the station in the pilot. Now, I love Tamlin Tomita. She is great. I mean, I'm just a fantastic actress, and I just love all she's done. But on Babylon 5, it just didn't quite click. And I tend to think that was because it was like Ivanova early on. It wasn't written for Tamlin Tomita. And had she stayed on the series, I think that J. Michael Straczynski, would have been able to write for her the same way he did for Claudia Christian. If you look at Claudia Christian early on, she's a lot stiffer, a lot more Russian, a lot more of the stereotypical Russian that you see on TV and in the movies. There's a lot more of that. She's much stiffer. But as the show goes on, especially in the first season, you see J. Michael Straczynski taking advantage of Claudia Christian's range. Claudia Christian has this great range. She can do comedy really well. She's got great dramatic chops, but she can do all sorts of stuff in between, and that's what she really does on Babylon 5. She shows a ton of personality, but early on in the first few episodes, there's not a lot of that shown. She's kind of stiff, kind of stoic, and it's really interesting to watch that character progress because it happens fast. I mean, over the first half of the first season, you see the change in Ivanova. Early on, also, you'll notice that G'Kar is the villain of the story, more or less. Of the regulars, he's the bad guy. He's the one with the dark intentions. And Londo, as you'll see in an upcoming clip, is kind of the buffoon of the show. He's the jester, the court jester of this bunch. And you'll see over the course of the series how things change. But the show opens up with the attack on the Centauri colony of Ragesh 3. Ragesh 3 is a agricultural colony, and it is attacked right at the opening of the show. And you see these attacks, and it's just a short sequence. And the actor who plays the Centauri, he's kind of stiff. He's nothing special, nothing to write home about, but he gets his job done. So you have that dramatic opening, the attack on Ragesh 3. Then you come in and you see Garibaldi, who is in the pilot, and then in comes Ivanova, and for the first time we see the two of them interact. Take a look at this.
Garibaldi, have you seen the commander? I've tried linking in. He's not responding.
In that case, he's in the observation dome.
How do you know?
Oh, right. You're new here. He only turns off his link for 10 minutes a day. And when he does, that's where you can find him.
But why? There's no traffic due in for a while. The dome's on standby. No one's there.
Exactly.
Mr. Garibaldi!
Oh, boy.
Commander, there's a problem.
So as you can see there, Claudia Christian comes on as Ivanova for the very first time in the series. She has a nice interaction with Garibaldi. It's kind of setting things up. You see first the chemistry between Garibaldi and Ivanova. The two of them, you'll see that relationship develop where they have a good working relationship. You could say that they're work friends. And that's a really good one that you can see it's kind of starting there. I mean, right off the bat, Jerry Doyle and Claudia Christian fit together in the cast perfectly. It's great. Jerry Doyle doing the Jerry Doyle thing. I mean, he's extremely likable as Garibaldi, and you can see that right there. And just in that one scene, he's showing why he got that role. And then Ivanova, Claudia Christian plays her a little more laid back than she does in the rest of the episode, and in some of the later, or some of the next couple of episodes. She's a little more laid back. For Ivanova, anyway, that's very laid back. And then Ivanova, of course, goes to Sinclair, and we've learned a bit about Sinclair, just a little bit of dialogue, and you get that impression that, you know what, Sinclair is a very serious, thoughtful person. He likes his time alone. He's on the observation deck by himself. He's there because there's nobody else there. He likes the time to be alone, to think, just relax, and to just kind of clear his mind and kind of go over the things that he wants to go over. So Ivanova comes in, tells him about the problem. Presumably it's Ragesh 3, the attack on Ragesh 3. I think that's the assumption we're supposed to take. I'd say it's pretty obvious. So that we're getting this sense of who Sinclair is just in that. He's a very thoughtful, serious person. Now next, what we're going to see is Jerry Doyle playing Garibaldi with Peter Jurasik as Londo. And the relationship between those two is perfect. It's really... it's funny because you can tell that Garibaldi likes Londo to a point, but he also finds him irritating and annoying, and he certainly doesn't trust him. And it's really fascinating to see that. And then Londo, on the other hand, really respects Garibaldi and wants to be his friend. He wants Garibaldi to like him. And that's a dynamic that really plays out for the first couple of seasons. So we'll see that right now. Just take a look.
All I'm asking is that you trust me.
Trust you. Londo, my brain will be 5 days dead before I ever trust a Centauri. The first time we met you people, the first time we met any other civilization, you told us you practically ran the entire galaxy. What was it you said? A huge empire.
Come on, public relations.
Only that hasn't been true for almost 100 years. Then you give us this line about how Earth is some lost Centauri tribe, making us distant relatives, until we finally got our hands on some Centauri DNA and find out we're not related at all. Appearances aside, we're two completely different species.
A clerical error.
A clerical error.
Yes, we thought your world was Beta 9. It was actually Beta 12. Okay, we made a mistake. I'm sorry. Here, open my wrist.
Centauri don't have major arteries in their wrists.
Of course we don't. What do you think? I'm stupid?
As you can see there, Garibaldi definitely doesn't trust Londo, and he kind of sort of likes him, finds him amusing to a point, but it's this kind of sort of friendship that they have. And then coming up now, Veer is going to come in. It's the first time that we see Stephen First as Veer. Now, the crest on Veer, kind of ragged, the makeup's not quite there, he's got the teeth in there that he loses later, thankfully. But we do get a sense of who Veer is. And he's bringing the news to Londo of the attack on Ragesh 3. And it's just this, an unthinkable thing. It's an agricultural colony. Who would attack an agricultural colony? And that's the setup. And so we're going to see that right now.
Ambassador.
Mr. Garibaldi, have you met my diplomatic staff? Just arrived from the homeworld. This is it.
Ambassador.
Yes, Veer, what is it?
Our colony, Ragesh 3, our agricultural colony.
Yes, I know what it is. What about it?
It's under attack. No provocation, no warning. They got through the minefields and now they're firing on anything that moves. Fighters, wave after wave after wave.
Who launched the attack?
I don't know. No one does.
So now, already in this episode, we've gotten a feel for these characters. We've gotten Garibaldi, Ivanova, Londo, Sinclair, and you just get, and Veer. Let's not forget Veer. So you've got a sense of who these characters are. Right off the bat, JMS has set it up in the script so we get to know who these people are and what they're like. The detail here that he is able to give in just a few lines of dialogue is really actually kind of remarkable, because we're getting to know these people and you will see these traits and these characteristics expanded on, but they're rooted right in what you see here. So that's really kind of interesting as you see that. So that's the other thing too that you see, is that already early on in the episode, we're just 10-15 minutes into the episode, and already we've gotten a situation where we know who a lot of the characters are and what they're all about. But there's a lot more detail we're going to get later. It's a really nice bit of writing.
You won't get away with this. We'll strike back, and we'll strike back hard.
I assume you're referring to the attack on Ragesh 3 by our forces. Just found out about it myself. I'm sure there's a reasonable explanation.
What reasonable explanation is there for the slaughter of unarmed civilians?
So once it's discovered that it was the Narn that attacked the Centauri base of Ragesh 3, Londo is furious. And of course, he has that confrontation with G'Kar, and he is just incensed that the Narns have attacked an agricultural outpost filled with innocent civilians. And G'Kar, of course, feels totally justified since the Centauri had occupied the Narn homeworld for 100 years and basically enslaved the people there. So he sees it as payback. So the two of them have this conflict right now, and their relationship has this great dynamic that changes over time, all the way from the first episode up to just about the last. It is just a great story from beginning to end, with a lot of great, like I said, twists and turns along the way. So you've got that's been set up, the relationship of Londo and G'Kar, which for a lot of people is the heart of Babylon 5. I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. It's one of the highlights of Babylon 5 for sure, but there are so many different great things about it. I don't think you could pick just one as being the heart of Babylon 5. And of course, along the way, this episode introduces us to the Raiders, a new threat to shipping and transports throughout the galaxy. So it's kind of interesting to see how they've created this new enemy, kind of space pirates more or less. And they are attacking transports and killing the people and taking the cargo, making money off of selling that. So there's that set up, and that goes on for a couple of years, where the Raiders are a thing for a couple of years before that is dealt with. So there's just a lot going on here in this episode that sets up stuff in the future. And in the meantime, of course, there is a lot of really good drama, a lot of really good stuff in this episode. I mean, you see the council chambers and the bit there with Londo's nephew on Ragesh 3, and he being forced to read a statement how they asked the Narn for help to take care of things that the Centauri Republic wouldn't. And really just a lot of conflict that is well thought out by JMS. So all in all, I mean, all you can say about this episode is it really stands as a great starting point, a building block for 5 years of great television. And this episode itself, I think it's top notch. I think it's one of the best episodes of the season, and I would say it's probably top 10 between the first and second seasons. So really, JMS did a fantastic job of stepping it up, bringing the show up to another level, and Midnight on the Firing Line was a great way to start the series and give Babylon 5 some serious science fiction credibility. Anyway, that's it for this show. My name's Erik Rupp. I'm glad you took the time to watch. If you're watching it this far, thank you. I really appreciate it. And we're going to have more shows. We're going to go over Dark Matter pretty soon. We're going to go over Stargate and some other stuff too. We'll have videos probably one a week, and we'll go from there. So anyway, thank you very much for watching, and you have a great day.